Hey, what's up, everybody? DDO44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I figured I'd give it some NBA chat. I don't know what I'm going to say. I have no idea, and most of the time I don't, so we're just going to run with it. But, yeah, man, prayers out to Franz Wagner, man. He's having a fantastic season. Certainly shot my Lakers down, and he's out indefinitely with a torn oblique of some sort or something like that. Bad injury, man. Very bad injury. They said they'll reevaluate him in 4 weeks. Whew. He was well on his way to an all-star campaign, man. And, of course, the Orlando Magic are out on Paolo as well. Paolo should be back probably in a couple of weeks. Although I don't remember exactly how long he was out. But he's been out for like almost a month already. So hopefully he's close for them, for their sake. But it's awful for a team that's playing fantastic defense. Team that's in, what, 4th place or something like that in the Eastern Conference, 3rd place. It's awful. Awful way to play, man. They have a lot of talent they can utilize, though. They play a good team defensive brand of basketball. And they do have a lot of depth that they can turn to, but this is bad. This is bad. I think they can win some games, but not the same games they would have won if he was out there, to say the least. You know, so you're dealing with injuries, man. That's really what it comes down to. You're dealing with constant injury issues for their basketball club. Their 2 best players down with month-long or more injuries. It's kind of hard to see them really making noise this year, unless they want to up and make a trade. Does this entice them to maybe do something that they otherwise wouldn't have done? I don't know how much cap space they got. That's another thing. They may not be in a strong position to bring on a Brandon Ingram or something like that, but you know, it's something you have to wonder about when you're considering the Orlando Magic wanting to stay in the fold, in the mix. If they bring on expiring BI, it's not like it hurts them any to not re-sign him, given the fact that they have the players at his position that are going to hold it down. You're just getting a rental, try to carry you through the meat and potatoes of the season, and maybe play some extended roles in the playoffs if you continue to have injury issues. I mean, and you just let him walk in free agency, but it's going to cost to get him. What are you going to give up a couple picks to the Pelicans? Move on from some pieces that you like to use? I don't know if I'm brainstorming here. This is me just coming up with something, not necessarily anything I've heard at all, but you know, it makes you wonder if a team like that would be willing to do something that maybe they weren't willing to do before. That's really what it comes down to. But yeah, that's one thing. Shaedon Sharpe just recorded the highest vertical in-game dunk last night against the Utah Jazz. Saw highlights of that. Incredible leaper, man, but we knew that coming out of college. He was definitely going to be one of them super leapers, Zach LaVine, Miles Bridges type dudes. That goes without saying. And now that he's recovered from his injuries fully, he's able to get back on track to where he was right before he went down. He was a lethal scorer about 2 years ago, before the injuries started hitting him. Real lethal scorer. He had really started showing that he was a real player and a good draft pick. But them injuries kind of slowed him down. And of course, their team being a tanking team in Portland kind of slowed him down as well, kept him from being a part of winning situations. But that's a hell of a leaper, man. Hell of a leaper and a damn good scorer. So I'm curious to see what his upside can be from here. Hopefully the injuries don't continue, but he's 100% right now. So the Lakers will get a chance to look at him tomorrow. And I'd imagine he's going to do some of that stuff against us. So, yeah, look out for Shaedon Sharpe. It's a lot of guys in tanking situations that you may have forgotten about that can really play. He's one of them. He's definitely one of them. I think Portland needs to start making some moves, man. Shave off some of them damn contracts. You are tanking. You suck. And let's say you get a Cooper Flag. The pieces that you got in place, if I'm being honest with you, ain't even good enough for him to really start his career off the right way. Like, I don't know about this situation. I keep Shaedon Sharpe. I keep some of the role-playing youngsters that they picked up, Doc Reef and Samaki's kid and Murray twin. I keep those role-playing young players, but some of these contracts like Jeremy Grant and Anthony Simons, I'm moving them contracts, man. If I'm Portland, ain't no sense in keeping those guys. DeAndre Ayton, get all that stuff off your team, man. You don't need none of that crap. You're losing with it, so why keep it? That's my question. You know, if you thought it came together, to make something special if you bring in Cooper Flag or Harper or something like that. That would be great. But I don't see that with those dudes. And I was looking at the interior defense that they were playing with Ayton on the floor. It was miserable, man. I know they're a tanking ball club, but the effort was miserable in that Utah game. Just layup after layup with him just looking, barely moving. I'm like, yo, man, is this something y'all told him to do so that the tank could be real? Because if that's the case, I give him a pass, if that's what y'all want to do. But if he's actually supposed to be rim protecting, there's absolutely no way that effort is going to cut it on an NBA basketball floor. He looked terrible, man. You know, of course, if my Lakers playing this team tomorrow, I've been watching highlights of them, you know, seeing, you know, what they can do. That's one of my routines. I try to go back about 5 games and just watch the little 10-minute highlights that are available on YouTube. That's about as much homework as I really have the stomach to do. But, you know, just to get just some moderately familiar so I can update everybody who watches me on what to expect. But I can tell you the truth, man. For all of the losing that the Lakers been doing, if they come to that game with the Hawks intensity that we brought to the Hawks, we're going to beat Portland by a lot. You know, we're going to beat Portland by a lot. So hopefully the Lakers do that. I don't think that, I haven't checked the injury report, but I'm pretty damn certain Klingon ain't going to be out there. And so, you know, I know that Scoot Henderson's been out as well. So, you know, I keep those players for my rebuild if I'm Portland, by the way. But, like, the contracts need to move. Ayton, after seeing what I saw on him, I recant my statement on getting him potentially if you're the Lakers. He is definitely not the answer. His motor is awful. And if you're going to bring a bad motor to an already motorless situation with the Los Angeles Lakers, you're defeating the purpose, especially if that's going to be a bad contract, which it most definitely is. So, yeah, everything I said about Ayton potentially being somebody that I might be willing to target, I'm out after watching that highlight series. I'm out. He looks bad. He's not happy unless he's taking jump shots. I'm cool on him, man. His energy is bad. And it was bad in Phoenix, and it's bad in Portland. So, yeah, no thank you. I'd rather take a chance on somebody else at that center position that's likely going to be able to block a few shots, rebound the ball, and not be so heavily offensively reliant, because that's really what he is. So, yeah, man, I just wanted to say that. You know, what else is going on? There's a few things interesting. I think that the Charlotte Hornets, it's time to pay attention to them in their center position. If you need a center, they got a handful of them, and they can't keep them all. They're all playing too well or capable of playing too well for the roles that they're going to be given. They got Williams back. They got the new kid, the rookie that they just picked up. I can't think of his name, but he's been playing good. You got Nick Richards. You know what I mean? It's just it's getting to a point where it's like, all right, they're probably going to move one of them. And it probably shouldn't cost an arm and a leg with Charlotte being not so great of a team. I don't know, man. And that's another thing. Charlotte's a bit frustrating or disappointing, I guess you can say. Because they really do have talented players, but they just lose every game they in. It's getting to a point where it's like, damn, when is the tank ever going to end, man, with that team? You got Brandon Miller. You got LaMelo Ball. It's time to stop tanking, man. Like, literally. I understand that they went, you know, Grant Williams went down. That's unfortunate. He was playing pretty well for them. But, like, when you look at how P.J. Washington is playing in Dallas, I would have never moved P.J. Washington for Grant Williams. I would have never did that. That's just a bad organizational decision. I mean, like, let's just be honest. That's a terrible organizational decision. Josh Green is a nice role player, but, like, that's your return for P.J. Washington? P.J. Washington was a player that should have been kept. Maybe somebody else should have been moved in that position. I would have kept him, kept Brandon Miller, kept Melo Ball, and kind of looked to move other stuff. I don't know. I don't know, man. Maybe they want to tank a little further. I like the Tijon Salon kid. I think he looks really good. He really does. I like him, so you can add him to the mix of stuff to keep. But I just don't know, man. I'm a bit frustrated with the Charlotte Hornets. I think they have a little too much talent to continue to be as bad as they are, man. They got to turn the corner at some point. As a franchise, you got to turn the corner, man. How many draft picks do you need? You know, mind you can only pay a couple players max money. So if you happen to get Cooper Flag, that's your max money right there. You really don't have nothing else to pay anybody. You know, you may have these guys on rookie contracts, but eventually you're going to lose them. So, like, what is your goal, Charlotte, is what I asked you. What is your goal? Does it keep losing and losing and losing and losing? You've never been a winner. That's the part that makes it frustrating. Like, for me, when I look at a team like the Utah Jazz, who's in a similar situation, maybe it's because I'm old enough to remember when Utah was relevant, but it's almost like because of it, I know they're headed somewhere. Their history tells me they're headed somewhere. They've been to multiple NBA Finals. They never won anything, but, you know, they're a franchise to where in my lifetime I've seen them succeed to some degree. Charlotte, even in the glory days of Charlotte, they were out of here in the second round. You know, the LJ days and the what's his name? It's a few of them players that they had. Alonzo Mourning. Even in that era, they weren't very good, to be honest with you. They were still getting their butts whooped. So, where is the ceiling for the Charlotte Hornets now? They went through the Bobcats era. That was bad all the way through, with the exception of maybe one playoff run. Your franchise has never won anything. How is it that you're so comfortable year in and year out having bad seasons? It just drives me crazy with their franchise specifically. It's just in a never-ending cycle of tanking. The tank never actually parks. You feel me? So that's my situation, my opinion in regards to the Charlotte Hornets. The tank just never stops moving. And I think they've had enough lottery picks, man. They've had enough lottery picks. They got enough picks to shift into the win now phase. Brandon Miller and LaMelo Ball are serious enough talents to where now it's time to start really seriously putting something around. You got Tijon Salon. Mind you, they've been tanking, but they haven't been getting the first overall pick since Melo. You know, they got the second overall pick, but like, you got enough at this point to where if you're a good GM, you can start taking some of the picks that they have of their future, take some of these side level centers and players that you got hanging around. You know what I mean? You could take some of these dudes and you can get yourself a real player. You can get yourself a Brandon Ingram and pay him. You can get yourself, you know, something, anything. With the picks that you got something to make something happen. So that's my thing with the Charlotte Hornets. Now you got two killers on your team. Do something. Stop just tanking and hoping you're going to get the first overall pick. You've already gotten that. You didn't do nothing with it. So, yeah, Charlotte is irritating, to be honest with you. It's like they're never going to turn the corner. So, yeah, that's my thought on them. Who else I've been paying attention to? I don't feel that way about the Washington Wizards because I don't think they have as much talent. Where's their LaMelo Ball? They don't have them. You know, maybe Alex Sarr turns into that guy, but it's going to take some time. So I think they're on a better plus they're on a fast track to making sure that they have a team full of young players. They don't really have anybody making $250 million like LaMelo. They don't, you know what I mean? It's not really what they have right now. Everybody's the same age, pretty much. And they're all playing meaningful positions. So, with the exception of Jordan Poole, who is on a big contract. But like, Jordan Poole was so underdeveloped when they got him, and there was such low expectations for him to where he's almost in the right spot to just make his mistakes, mature, not mature, you know what I mean? Whatever the hell he wants to do. And Kyle Kuzma is like a candidate to be moved. You almost forget he's there, to be honest with you, which is sad because he's a guy who's won an NBA championship on my team. But I mean, Kyle Kuzma is like a guy who, you know, he's had a lot of injury issues in Washington, and I don't know if should I say that I don't take him seriously as a winning player, even though he's won a championship? That's the weirdest thing in the world, but it's almost like his energy with the Lakers he was more so interested in being a model and his model girlfriend, and basketball was kind of like, yeah, I get on the court, make a couple shots. He just severely underachieved with the role. But we happened to win a championship while he was on the team, and he did play a big role in the bubble. But, like, I remember his numbers with the Lakers. They were underwhelming a good portion of the time. And for the expectations we had for him when we drafted him and how he came out in the first season, you know, he was somebody you thought was going to be as good as Jason Tatum at one point. And so for me, I look at Kyle Kuzma, I just say, for the price tag, you want to give him like $150 million, I'm cool, man. I don't think he's that serious of a player. That Washington team, he didn't elevate them at all, you know. They sucked just as bad with him, you know what I mean? And maybe that's by design. Maybe that's just an unfortunate thing by design, but I don't know. I'm not a big Kyle Kuzma guy. I am as it pertains to him being a champion with the Lakers. We love him for that. But as far as just picking him out of a lineup of a bunch of players, I'm not a Kyle Kuzma guy. I'm really not. I think he's cool, but his defense left a lot to be desired. His offense can really shoot when he's in his bag, but sometimes he's not in his bag. Now the injuries and stuff like that, I'm cool, man. I know the Lakers are rumored to potentially be interested in bringing him back, but I haven't forgotten how he looked next to Bron and AD. He turned into a real role player production. That just wasn't good enough for the price tag that he's now on. It's not good enough. I'm probably cool on him, especially if it's going to cost me pick equity. Nah, I'm not doing that. You know, I don't know if I should feel frustrated in a sense that as a Laker fan, a lot of the guys that we're rumored to be targeting are players that have already been on our team. I just don't care to recycle players that we've already had, that we've traded away, you know what I mean? I think the MO with our franchise is that we tend to like familiarity and family, and, you know, we bring back our guys, and once a Laker, always a Laker, but that doesn't mean we want to keep recycling them in our roster. You know what I mean? A guy we traded away, now we want to bring him back. Like, you traded him away for a reason. I don't know. Maybe for me, I like newness. I really do. I like newness. And although sometimes, for example, a guy like Dennis Schroeder probably fits right now, we need him just as much as we ever did, and bringing him back will probably be a good thing for our team. I would love for somebody new to come around just the same, instead of just continuing to look to trade for people we just had already. I don't care to bring back some of them dudes. Like KCP, I loved him when he was here, but we had him for 6 years? I don't care to go another route there. Another round there. You know, Brandon Ingram, I like Brandon Ingram a lot, so I don't necessarily wrap him into that. But with him wanting to get paid, I just assume he'll only be here for a couple months and he's gone. So that's the thing. I actually would love to bring back Brandon, but like, he's probably the only one that I would really be interested in trading for, in theory, if I'm the Lakers. I ain't really interested in bringing back old blood. Bring back some new dudes, man. Bring back somebody who ain't never put on this uniform, somebody who's got a reputation with a high motor, some athletic shooters. You know, not just recycling the same old players that played with Bron and AD before, and we bring them back again. I think that's part of the problem right now, is that people are bringing back the same team, you know what I mean? From the last 2 years. For me, maybe it's because of a hangover from that being our dynamic. I just don't want to go that route with players that we've already had, man. I'm not really all that interested in bringing back some of them old dudes. I'm just being honest, man. And so I'm probably in the minority when it comes to that. But that's how I feel, man. That's exactly how I feel. So, you know, beggars can't be choosy in this market. With these circumstances, I think it may be difficult to get anybody, really. And that's something I preach a lot, to not have expectations that the Lakers can make trades, or that any team really would be willing to make trades in this environment. But my hope is that they're opting out of this collective bargaining agreement at the end of the year. I believe they have the right to. I think it was only a 3-year deal with an option on the 3rd year or something like that. So that's what we're coming up on, I believe, next summer. They should opt out of that thing, dude. They should opt out of that and create more flexibility for movement, as we say a million times a day. But yeah, man, what else is going on? The Clippers are interesting, man. As I said in the offseason when they were putting together the team, they got some really nice role players. They just don't have the star power that can carry them to the finish line. But as far as them putting together great role players, I think they probably have better role players than probably anybody in the league right now. They got premier role players. And now the coffee is breaking out. That's even better. Zubac is having a career year. Norman Powell is always more talented than people think, no matter what. Norman Powell is close to an all-star on the offensive end when he wants to be. So it's like they got some real guys, man. James Harden turned back the clock. He looks good. Can't even front on him. He's really stepped into the role and really helped them. He looks much better than he did these last couple of years. So it's like, for the Clippers, if I were a Clipper fan, it would be wonderful if we could just land somebody in trade that's worth double for what we're going to pay. Move Kawhi, move a future 2030 pick, and bring back somebody's star power that can really move the needle, man. Unfortunately, Kawhi is not going to be able to get you that return at this point, but they need a star. If I'm being completely honest with you, that's what the Clippers need. James Harden can be a number 3 guy, but you cannot call him to be a number 2 in the playoffs. Absolutely not. Not if you're really serious about winning. And as I said, Kawhi Leonard's number 1 when he's healthy, but to bet on him being healthy at this point is laughable. It's absolutely laughable. So that's the problem with the Clippers. They for whatever reason, all the role players decided to go there. All the most important role players in the league, who, if they were on certain teams, would help them get to the finals, all them dudes decided to go to the Clippers. Play with one another. I personally think it was good on the Clippers to make that happen, but terrible on those role players to actually go there, because you really needed in other places. Like, why the hell would you sign with them? And so that's what it comes down to. They don't have a ceiling that is championship. But if you take all the role players on their team and slap them, say, on the Lakers with Bron and AD, suddenly we're the favorites to win the whole thing. Because that's really all we're missing is that type of level role talent. We got garbage role players. No defense to my guys, but our role players are trash in comparison. But we have the star power that can win the championship. So that's really what it comes down to. At some point in time, the Clippers are going to have to figure out what they want to do. Because the ceiling is not high enough to actually do anything. But if they can find a path toward getting a star or 2, just like they were before they got Kawhi and PG, they would be rolling. Because just like the year before they got Kawhi and PG, they got the same type of talent right now. The best role-playing talent in the league, all slapped together with one another. It's like, man, find a way to get a star, please. Get somebody. I don't know how you're going to do it, but find a way, and your team will be very good. Hey, friend, what's up? What's up? Your team will be good. And so that's my attitude. I think the Clippers don't have a path to that because they've mortgaged all their picks. They don't have a path to that because PG just walked. They don't have a path to that because Kawhi Leonard is not going to get that return for you at this point, and you can't count on him to come back. So their ceiling's capped off, like, at best, second round. And that's overachieving to the max. Truth of the matter is, I expect them to, at some point in time, to just kind of fall off. Because even though the role players are amazing, the star power isn't there, so they're just going to get outclassed by a team with some stars. That's really what it comes down to. At best, second round. So, I don't know, man. I'm not a Clipper fan by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, I'm very much a Clipper hater. But I'm not even wearing that hat today. I'm just looking at a franchise that did a better job of putting role players around itself than any other team in the league right now, in my opinion. You ain't going to find a GM that put together better role talent than the Clippers did this season. That's why they have one of the best defenses in the league, because they did nothing but put guys like Dunn and Derrick Jones Jr. and, what's the kid that got into the domestic situation? Porter. They got a bunch of really good players. The guys I already mentioned. It's like, damn, man. Where is your star? That's what it comes down to. Norman Powell, I mean, my God, all they need is a star, and they'll have their first championship. I guarantee it. With the role talent that they have, as bad as this NBA's put together role talent for this field, all the Clippers need is their number 1 and their number 2. And they have absolutely no path to getting it without giving up that role talent, ironically enough. So, this is why you don't mortgage your picks, man. This is why you don't do it. I think their defense is going to continue to be fantastic all season long. I think if guys like Norman Powell and James Harden and Amir Coffey continue to play this well, they can be a playoff team. I think they can be a top 6 team. When all the role players come together and buy into their roles, Zubac continue to stay healthy and continue to patrol the paint. You get something out of Infinity Money off the bench. You know, they got a lot of talent there, man. Way more than I was going to be willing to give them credit for. But Morgan's all the damn picks, and so they can't trade those picks for stars. And that's exactly what the hell they need, man. So I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. Probably nothing. Just sit here and accept your fate if you're the Clippers. Accept your damn fate, man. I don't know if you have a pick that's replenishing next year. If you can hold on to all this role talent, maybe James Harden play one more year since you got him on for 2 years. Maybe you could take Kawhi Leonard and that pick that would be replenishing from like 2031 and maybe trade it for a star or something. Or someone damn close to being a star. I don't know, man. I don't know. But letting PG walk was insanity. There's no way you let that happen. And I ain't saying you pay him what he was asking for, because I don't do that either. But I traded him last year before it gets to that point. And I need somebody to help me recall if he was actually healthy on the trade deadline. Because if that was in the way, then never mind. But it should have never been a situation where he hit free agency and they were able to walk. Especially with Kawhi Leonard's situation being as it was. You needed to capture that value if you were the Clippers. You really needed to. For that to be your number 2 star and you don't get nothing for him, that should not ever happen. That should never happen. And they let it happen. So that's also why this ceiling ain't very high. Even though from player to player to player, they're, let's say, 6 through 10 is better than most in the entire league in terms of their role talent and the levels, you know, guys on their bench. They got one of the best benches on the planet. And some of their starters are really good too. Ain't no stars there. And so that's really what it comes down to, man. You got to find those stars if you're the Clippers. You got to find them. I don't care what you got to do. I don't care how you do it. You just hold on to the role talent and you try to package up Kawhi Leonard and something else and get that star. Because if you are banking on him being that star, you're a damn fool. An absolute and utter fool at this point. You know? That's what I fear. So, yeah, what is he worth, man? Can I get a first or 2 for Kawhi Leonard at this point? Can I entice a team like OKC to give me some first-round picks for Kawhi Leonard to like boost their overall season ceiling and send them into a championship situation? Not to say that OKC can't win a championship, but if you put Kawhi in that situation right now and don't remove any talent, if he comes back healthy for the playoffs, they immediately become the favorite to win the championship, even over the Boston Celtics, in my opinion. Because you're not relying on Kawhi Leonard to do anything but come in and just be too much. And that's exactly what I think a team like OKC could afford right now. And they got the picks to do it. They got 1 million picks. They could afford to give away 5 picks and still be pick rich as hell. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, that's not something I don't know that they think Kawhi's worth that even at this point. But just to soup yourself up way past the field, it might be worth to consider it if you're OKC. And if you're the Clippers, I wouldn't hesitate. I don't know what type of salary matches would be possible. And see, that's another thing. Of course, you got to consider salary matches. So what would OKC have to give up in salary in order to make that happen? And that's why I think the NBA should kind of open up their flexibility in that regard too. If a team like the Clippers want to move on from a contract like Kawhi Leonard, and the OKC Thunder are willing to take back Kawhi Leonard, his contract, and move on from a healthy amount of non-cash tradable assets like picks, you know, not non-contract rather tradable assets, they should be able to do that without being forced to match salary. But I got to match salary. If I'm fitting the bill, I need to understand what the problem is. Is it that we don't want to create opportunities for teams to just be free of salary burden? because that's exactly what you would be allowing the Clippers to be in letting them offload $100 and $200 million contract, whatever Kawhi's making. They can offload a $200 million contract and not have to take that salary back. All of a sudden, they go from being in a cap hole to being cap friendly. And then what does that do to the Thunder? They are over the cap, right? But if you can weasel that out of existence, you can create the flexibility that allows for teams to be so much better, so much easier. They can still foot the bill, and they can still be hit on the tax if you want to make it that. But to make it so that they can't make that trade, I think it's worse for the league in itself overall. You want to be able to do that. That's essentially what I'm saying. If I want to trade 5 picks for a $200 million contract, I should be able to do that. No different than I'm able to trade a second-round pick for cash considerations. You see what I'm saying? And if I don't mind having that $200 million contract on my books, it should be cool. You shouldn't eat away at what it is ultimately that I already have in place, because I was willing to offload the burden of what the pick equity would also be worth. You see what I'm saying? Since pick equity holds so much value, how come it can't stand in place of contract obligations? You see what I'm saying? You got teams like the Utah Jazz who have like 12 picks to trade. How come they can't trade that for $200 million worth of salary and it not affect their books? You see what I'm saying? Like, yeah, that's not something that is in place right now. It doesn't seem like that makes a whole lot of sense now. But if you can put trade exceptions and things like that into your equation, why wouldn't you be able to work some type of exception out for this type of scenario? So, like, for me, if I'm the NBA, that's the type of flexibility that I think I need to make the overall field healthier, to make the teams from city to city just better. Because a team like the Clippers with all this role talent can't get to the ceiling that ultimately their role talent would be able to carry them if they had a star. And it's because of this type of thing in the way. Now I got to move $200 million worth of, or rather the Thunder got to move $200 million worth of players that maybe it doesn't benefit them to move, so they can bring back Kawhi Leonard, and they're still offloading all these picks. It's just, for their betterment, they should not have to offload anything salary-wise. And for the Clippers' betterment, they probably don't want to bring back a bunch of players that total the salary match. Instead, they want the pick equity. So, yeah, that's my thinking, man. And if I'm doing anything in the collective bargaining agreement, I'm trying to figure out how to make that reality. So, yeah, these are the type of things that get teams out of holes, man. Teams that have mortgaged their picks and stuff like that. Teams that want to get over that hump and they have a bunch of picks because all the teams that mortgaged them have ultimately given the picks to them. That's how you get back on track, man. You create opportunities like this to bridge that gap. And I know there would be some teams that wouldn't be pleased with that necessarily, because you're making teams a lot better around them. But you're also resetting the path to young talent going to more diversified places, which is ultimately what this mortgage future pick hoarding era has ultimately made impossible. You know, as we've talked about it several times, now you got all your best rookies over the next several years going to like 3 and 4 different places and not going to some of your bigger markets, not going to some of your worst teams. And just because old regimes that have been in place that likely have been fired since then made decisions that affect the future doesn't mean that we can't mold the future a bit so that some of those mistakes didn't tank our field. There should be some way to pull that off. And I think we should be searching for it if you're the NBA. So, yeah, that's really where I'm at with it, man. So that you don't have the next Zion playing with the next Giannis, playing with the next Luka, playing with the next AI, all on the same team as role players for the next LeBron. You see what I'm saying? Because that's exactly what the NBA is ushering themselves toward. That's exactly what they're ushering themselves toward. So that's ultimately what I don't want to see happen, man. But yeah, man, that's kind of where I'm at with it. You know, my Lakers are part of the problem in the sense that we mortgage so much. We talk about it every day. And maybe this does benefit my team in a way if we can find a way to offload a guy like Anthony Davis someday. Maybe not no time soon, but someday for like 6 picks and not have to take back salary matches. We can just usher ourselves into our rebuild without taking back anything that would otherwise be win now. That win now talent can stay with Anthony Davis and help him win. And we could take back the requisite picks and free cap space that ultimately allows us to rebuild. That works for my team. Probably more so than having to bring back salary matches and stuff like that. I can just have a Washington Wizards-like situation or a Utah Jazz-like situation where I ain't got nothing but young talent on all of my roles. We could lose 70 games. We give those guys 30 minutes a night to see which ones are really good and which ones are not. And it all comes together to ultimately make it so that the continuity can start with those young players that are comparable in age, as we've already mentioned with the Wizards. And giving me the ability to sign the next free agent that I want if he wants to come play with this team. And we could build that way. It just makes a much easier way to rebuild, reset, and not have old mistakes from past regimes keep you from doing so. So that's pretty much my take on things, man. I think I'll leave it there. Appreciate everybody for watching BDF 44, and I'm out.